The phone shattered the midnight silence like a gunshot in an empty warehouse, vibrating off the nightstand and onto the hardwood floor of Lincoln's cramped Chicago loft. Pick up. Damn it, it's me. The voice rasped through the speaker before he could even swipe, laced with panic that clawed at his gut like broken glass. In that split second, as rain hammered the window like fists on a coffin lid, Lincoln knew his quiet life as a freelance photographer chasing sunsets over Lake Michigan was over, replaced by the cold certainty that whoever was calling held a noose disguised as a plea. Lincoln bolted upright in bed, sheets tangling around his legs like restraints, heart slamming against his ribs as if it wanted out before the nightmare could drag it under. The loft smelled of stale coffee and the faint metallic tang of developing film from his darkroom corner, a sanctuary he'd built after his folks kicked him out at 18 for being too much like one of those city queers. At 28, he'd carved out a fragile peace, gigs shooting weddings for straight couples who tipped extra to pretend he wasn't staring too long at the groomsmen, nights blurring into hookups at underground bars where the bourbon burned away the loneliness. But this call, it wasn't some drunk booty call from Grindr. The voice belonged to Alex, the guy he'd ghosted 6 months back after one too many intense stares over last call at the hideout, a dive where the drag queens slung shade sharper than their heels. Lincoln? Jesus. Don't hang up. They're coming for me. Alex's words tumbled out in a whisper shout, breaths ragged like he'd been running Murat hops. A muffled crash echoed in the background, tires screeching, a door splintering, and Lincoln's free hand fumbled for the lamp, flooding the room in harsh yellow light that made shadows dance like demons on the brick walls. He hadn't thought of Alex in weeks. Not since that awkward morning after where promises of, let's do this right, dissolved into radio silence. Alex with his easy laugh, ink black hair that curled at the nape, and a tattoo of a shattered compass on his collarbone that Lincoln had traced with his thumb while they lay spent in a motel off Lake Shore Drive. What the hell had pulled him back now? Who's they? Lincoln is swinging his legs over the bed, bare feet hitting the cold floor as adrenaline surged like bad acid through his veins. He padded to the window, peering through rain-streaked glass at the alley below, empty. Thank God. Just overflowing dumpsters and the flicker of a neon sign from the bodega across the street advertising gyros 24/7. But his mind raced. Alex worked odd jobs, bouncing at clubs, dealing a little weed on the side to pay for his art school dreams. Harmless shit in a city that chewed up dreamers like Lincoln himself. Unless that was movie bullshit. Alex, slow down. Where are you? The pause, heavy as the storm clouds choking the skyline. Then, almost broken, Wicker Park. The old warehouse on Damon. I saw something I shouldn't have. At the Vault. The Vault, Chicago's underbelly pulse. A members-only club where the elite rubbed elbows with shadows, and rumors swirled of backroom deals that made heads roll. Literally. Gay power players, corrupt aldermen, whispers of blackmail rings targeting anyone who didn't play ball. Lincoln had shot a private event there once, capturing blurred faces in low light, deleting the files before dawn because something in the air felt too thick, too wrong. They're saying I stole files. Proof of everything. Hits on rivals. And one of them? He's got a grudge against guys like us. Thinks we're weak links. Lincoln's stomach twisted. A cold knot of fear mingling with that old spark, the one that had ignited when Alex first leaned in at the bar. Breath warm against his ear, murmuring, "You look like you could use a reason to stay. Weak links." The phrase hit like a slur from his dad's Bible-thumping rants. The kind that had sent Lincoln packing to the Windy City with nothing but a camera bag and a chip on his shoulder. Files? What the fuck? Alex? Call the cops. Puffed. Bitter and wet. Cops? Half of them are on the payroll. I need you. You're the only one I trust who knows how to disappear. Those photos you take? The way you frame the unseeable. Meet me. Or I'm dead by sunrise. The line crackled, then went silent, leaving Lincoln staring at his reflection in the dark window, hollow-cheeked, eyes wide with the terror of a man who'd always run from love, now chased by its ghost. He grabbed his keys, leather jacket slung over a hoodie, boots laced tight against the chill seeping through the floorboards. The L train rattled outside like Judgment Day, but he opted for his beat-up Ford Focus, engine coughing to life in the garage below. Wicker Park was a 20-minute drive if the rain didn't drown the streets. Longer if paranoia made him check mirrors every block. As he merged onto the Kennedy Expressway, windshield wipers slapping rhythm like a metronome to his pulse. Fragments of that night with Alex resurfaced, bodies pressed in the dim booth. Alex's hand sliding up his thigh under the table. A kiss that tasted like whiskey and was. Lincoln cranked the radio, some alt-rock station blasting the Nationals' Fake Empire, lyrics about building nothing out of something, trying to drown the what-ifs in static. The warehouse loomed on Damon like a forgotten relic from the industrial age. Chain-link fence sagging under ivy. Graffiti tags screaming, "Resist," in faded spray paint. Lincoln killed the headlights a block out, coasting silent to the curb, engine ticking cool as he scanned the shadows. No cars. No movement, just the relentless downpour turning the world to liquid mercury. He slipped out, hood up, phone flashlight cutting a narrow beam through the gloom. The side door hung ajar, rusted hinges groaning as he nudged it open, stepping into a cavern of echoes, exposed beams dripping condensation. Pallets stacked like tombstones, the air thick with mildew and something sharper, coppery, like blood. Alex. His voice bounced off concrete. Too loud. Too vulnerable. Footsteps, his own, crunching broken glass, were the only reply. Deeper in. Past rusted machinery that looked like mechanical dinosaurs. A sliver of light spilled from a cracked office door. Lincoln's hand trembled on the knob. Every nerve screaming trap. But that pull. That goddamn magnetic regret. One out. He pushed in. Alex huddled in the corner, knees to chest, face pale as the moonlight slicing through boarded windows. Bruises bloomed purple along his jaw. Shirt torn at the collar exposing that compass tet, now seeming less like rebellion and more like a curse. You came. Relief cracked his voice. But his eyes, dark, fathomless pools, held something shattered, something that made Lincoln's chest ache with the weight of unspoken apologies. What the hell happened? Lincoln dropped to one knee. Close enough to smell the rain on Alex's skin, the faint soap from whatever motel shower he'd stolen before this hell. He reached out, thumb brushing a cut above Alex's brow. And for a heartbeat, time fractured, the touch electric, an echo of tangled sheets and whispered confessions. Alex flinched, then leaned into it, eyes fluttering shut. I was working security at the vault. Boss, Victor Hale, had a meet in the VIP lounge. Envelope passed hands, but it slipped. I saw inside, photos, ledgers, names of politicians, donors. It's on activists, on us, guys in the community who spoke up about the raid's last Pride. His words spilled like a dam breaking, each one heavier than the last. Victor Hale, Chicago's shadow kingpin, a silver fox with a smile like a shark and a reputation for cleaning house in the queer scene, funding charities by day while allegedly funding graves by night. One file had my name circled. Said I talked too much at that rally. But I didn't, I swear. Lincoln's mind reeled. Piecing it, the raids, the whispers of a purge to keep the clubs compliant. The way Hale's generosity came with strings that choked. Why me? You could have called anyone. Alex's gaze locked on his, raw and unflinching. Because you see the truth. In your lens, in those eyes. And because I never stopped thinking about you. That night, it wasn't just a hookup. It was the first time I felt like I could be whole. The confession hung there, vulnerable as exposed film, and Lincoln felt it snag in his throat, the fear of wanting, of letting someone in when the world outside was a meat grinder for hearts like theirs. A distant rumble, thunder, engines, snapped them back. We gotta move, Lincoln said, hauling Alex up, arm around his waist steadying the limp. They bolted through the warehouse, rain lashing as they hit the alley, Lincoln's car a beacon in the storm. Tires spun on wet asphalt as he floored it, merging into the night. But in the rear view, headlights bloomed like predatory eyes. They ditched the Focus in a multi-level garage near the loop, blending into the after-hours crowd spilling from dive bars, tattooed hipsters nursing IPAs, couples arguing under umbrellas. Alex leaned heavy on Lincoln, breath hitching with each step. And as they ducked into a 24-hour diner on State Street, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets, the reality sank in. This wasn't a bad dream. It was a deadly game. And they just rolled the dice. Over greasy eggs and black coffee at a corner booth, vinyl seats cracking under them like old bones, Alex laid it out. The files weren't just dirt, they were a blueprint for Hale's empire. Laundering money through queer nightlife spots, silencing dissent with threats or worse. He targets the vulnerable, Alex murmured. Fork scraping plate. Kids like us, fresh off the bus from bumfuck nowhere, chasing freedom. I was gonna expose it. Go to that journalist you know, Harper, from the Tribune. Lincoln cut in, mind flashing to his ex-mentor, a chain-smoking dyke who'd taught him to chase stories with a shutter click instead of a byline. She'd bailed on him 2 years back when his shots of a police brutality beatdown got too hot. But maybe. Yeah. But Hale's got ears everywhere. Tonight, his guys cornered me after shift. Said if I talked, it'd be my body in the river. Waited like those poor bastards from '89. The year of the upstairs lounge echoes. But closer to home, the Mattachine Society ghosts still haunting Chicago's bars. Alex's hand found Lincoln's under the table, fingers interlacing with a desperation that bordered on prayer. Run with me? Just till we hand it off. Lincoln stared at their joined hands, calluses from camera grips meshing with Alex's bartender scars. The diner hummed around them, a jukebox crooning Patsy Cline, a waitress with a smoker's rasp refilling mugs. The city pulsed, L train screeching, horns blaring, a beast that devoured the unwary. He'd built walls after his family disowned him, after flings fizzled into ghosting, convinced love was a luxury for straights with picket fences. But here, in this greasy limbo, Alex's touch cracked the mortar. "Yeah," he whispered, thumbs stroking Alex's knuckles. "I'm in." Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving as they slipped into a no-tell motel off Cicero Avenue. The kind with hourly rates and stains that told stories no one wanted to hear. Room 207 smelled of Lysol and regret. Beds sagging under twin weights as they collapsed. Too wired for sleep. Lincoln stripped off his damp clothes, shivering in boxers, while Alex peeled away layers revealing more bruises, fingerprint welts on ribs. A gash across his thigh that needed stitches but got Neosporin from a corner store kit. "Let me," Lincoln said, kneeling on the threadbare carpet, dabbing antiseptic with a gentleness that belied the storm in his chest. Alex watched him, expression a mosaic of pain and something softer, hungrier. The air thickened, charged like the moments before a Midwestern twister, and when Lincoln's fingers lingered on inner thigh, tracing the edge of a faded scar from some childhood fall, Alex cupped his jaw, pulling him up. Their kiss started tentative, lips brushing like apologies, then deepened into a frenzy, tongues tangling, hands roaming with the urgency of men stealing time from fate. Alex tasted of salt and fear, body arching under Lincoln's as shirts hit the floor, skin on skin, a bomb against the chill. Lincoln mapped him with mouth and palms, nipping the compass tet, sucking marks into collarbones, whispering filth and endearments in equal measure. "God, you feel like home," gasped between thrusts that rocked the headboard against thin walls. Alex came undone first, nails digging crescents into Lincoln's back. A cry muffled against his shoulder that echoed the vulnerability of their first night. Lincoln followed, spilling with a shudder that left him boneless, curled around Alex like a shield. In the hush of spent breaths, sheets twisted around legs like lifelines, Alex traced Lincoln's jaw. "I meant it. That night at the hideout, I saw you across the room, lens around your neck like armor, and thought, there's a guy who captures souls. Never figured you'd capture mine." Lincoln's throat tightened, words trapped behind the lump of old wounds. His dad's voice echoed, "You'll burn in hell for this perversion." "Boy." Mom's silence, heavier than any shout. He'd fled to Chicago for reinvention. But reinvention meant solitude, flings that ended at dawn. No strings to snap. "I ghosted because I'm shit at this." "At us." "Last guy I let in? Left when my portfolio tanked. Said I was too broken for prime time." Alex shifted, propping on elbow, eyes searching. "Broken? You're the glue. The one who holds the frame together." He kissed Lincoln's temple, soft as snowfall, and for the first time in years, the walls didn't feel like prison bars. They felt like a door, cracked open. But safety was illusion. By noon, a burner phone buzzed. "Harper? Terse, files? Meet at my office? 6 p.m. "Come alone." Alex nodded, steel in his gaze. "I'll lay low here. You grab what we need from my locker at the club, keys in my wallet." "Proof's hidden there." Lincoln hesitated, the separation a fresh wound, but nodded. The drive back to Wicker Park twisted his gut, every shadow a tale. The hideout was shuttered daylight drab, alley reeking of vomit and yesterday's regrets. He slipped in the service door, pulse thunderous, navigating the dim corridor to the employee lockers. Alex's was unmarked, combination scratched inside. June 18, 89. The stone wall nod that twisted Lincoln's lips in grim smile. Inside, spare uniform, crumpled pack of smokes, and taped beneath, a flash drive in a condom wrapper, innocuous as contraband. He pocketed it, exhaling sharp, done. But as he turned, the door creaked, and there stood Marco, Alex's shift buddy, all slick hair and sharper smile. The kind that hid knives. Lincoln, right? Alex's ghost from Christmas past. Marco's tone dripped honey over venom, blocking the exit. Heard you two rekindled. Tweet. But Hale sends regards, says Borrowin, toys ain't polite. Betrayal hit like a sucker punch. Marco. The one Alex trusted with shifts, with secrets over post-last call beers. Lincoln's fist connected before thought, cracking Marco's nose in a spray of red. But numbers favored the house. 2 more goons materialized from the stockroom, meaty hands clamping his arms. The flash drive dug into his thigh like a talisman as they dragged him to the backlot. Hale's black SUV idling like a hearse. Victor Hale stepped out, impeccable in wool overcoat, salt and pepper beard groomed to razor edge, eyes cold as Lake Superior in January. Mr. Ramirez speaks highly of your talents, he drawled. Chicago North Side polish masking the gutter. Photographer. Capturing moments. This one? Hand it over. And maybe you capture sunrise tomorrow. Lincoln spat blood. Chin lifted defiant. Fuck your moments. Alex is blowing your house of cards sky high. Hale's laugh was silk over steel. Ramirez? Poor deluded fool. Thinks he's Robin Hood in fishnets. But loyalty's a bitch, Marco here's family. Blood in. Blood out. He nodded. And a goon rifled Lincoln's pocket, snatching the drive with a triumphant grunt. Drive him to the docks. Make it look like a lover's leap. The betrayal burned deeper than bruises as they zip-tied his wrists, shoving him into the SUV's trunk, darkness swallowing light. Engine roar drowning please. Bumps jarred bones over potholed roads toward the Calumet River, where bodies bobbed like forgotten debris. Lincoln's mind raced. Alex? Waiting oblivious in that motel, thinking salvation was en route. The kiss from hours ago, now poisoned, had Marco played informant all along? Fed Hale scraps to earn his keep? Hours blurred in suffocating black, air thick with exhaust and despair, until the vehicle lurched to halt. Trump popped. Cold wind off the water slapping his face like accusation. They hauled him out, feet dangling over the dock's edge, river churning black below, oily waves whispering drown. Marco smirked, wiping blood from his lip. Tell Alex he should have stuck to slinging drinks. Lincoln twisted, knee slamming one's groin, elbow cracking another's jaw. Chaos erupted, fists flying in the sodium glow of dock lamps. He broke free, sprinting along the pier, lungs burning, but a bullet whizzed past, splintering wood. Dive or die. He leaped, water closing icy jaws, shock stealing breath as current dragged him under. Surfacing gasping, he clawed toward shore, every stroke a battle against undertow and hypothermia. Miles blurred, swimming, staggering through industrial yards, stealing a bike from a chain-link yard to pedal frantic toward the motel. Dawn bled pink over the skyline as he burst into room 207. Dripping filth, only to find Alex gone, bed stripped. A note scrawled on motel stationery, they came. I'm sorry. Burn it'll, Don't follow. Hey. The world tilted. Grief a blade twisting deep. Hale had the drive. Marco's knife in the back. And Alex vanished into the machine. Lincoln sank to knees. Sobs racking frame. The love he'd dared to grasp slipping through fingers like river silt. But beneath the shatter, embers glowed, human decency, the stubborn spark that built this city from ash. He wouldn't burn it. He'd fight. Harper's office in the Tribune Tower smelled like ink and insomnia. Stacks of yellowing printouts teetering like Jenga towers on her desk. A half-empty bottle of Jameson winking from the drawer. Lincoln burst in at 7:15 a.m. Soaked to bone. Reeking of river rot. Collapsing into the chair opposite her with a squelch that made her arch a perfectly plucked brow. Christ. You look like you swam the English Channel with Hemingway's ghost. Spill. He did. Words vomiting out in a torrent. The call. The warehouse. The drive. Marco's grin as it all crumbled. Harper listened. Chain-smoking Virginia Slims. Ash tray overflowing like her skepticism. She was 50-something. Silver-streaked bob framing a face etched with bylines from Watergate echoes to Cheetown corruption busts. Tough as ribeye. But eyes soft when they lit on Lincoln. The protege she'd half-raised after spotting his raw talent at a community center darkroom. Files gone. Boyfriend AWOL. Ann Hale's goons playing Marco Polo with your ass. She exhaled smoke rings toward the ceiling fan. Whirring lazy circles. Sounds like a pitch for Scorsese. Not my beat. But. She leaned forward. Elbows on scarred oak. Voice dropping conspiratorial. I've been sniffing Hale for months. Whispers from sources in the clubs, raids aren't random, they're purges. He bankrolls the cops to shake down the scene. Keeps the boys in line. Queer dollars flow his way. No questions. Lincoln's fists clenched. Knuckles whitening. Alex isn't whispers. He's flesh and blood. And that bastard's got him marked. The word boyfriend hung. Unacknowledged but electric. A label he dodged like plague but now clung to like armor. Harper stubbed her cig. Rising to pace the carpet worn thin by deadlines. Then we go public. No drive? Fine. We build the case, interviews. Leaks from my Rolodex. But it's war. Hale's got judges in pocket. Media plants. You sure you're ready to burn bridges? Your gigs? Your quiet life, poof. He met her gaze. Green eyes hardening to jade. Quiet life's overrated. It's just noise without meaning. The admission cracked something open. Vulnerability bleeding through cracks. For Alex. For the kid version of himself hiding Polaroids under the mattress from prying parental eyes. What do we need? She grinned. Wolfish. Guts. And a safe house. My sister's got a cabin up in Door County, Wisconsin woods. No cell. No trails. Crash there. I'll rally the cavalry. Activists from Lambda Legal. A hacker kid who owes me from the Snowden days. She tossed him keys. A beat-up Chevy's fob. Drive north. I'll handle the heat here. And Link? If Ramirez surfaces. Tell him he's got one hell of a night. The drive to Door County was a blur of interstate hypnosis. Great Lakes wind buffeting the car like accusatory gusts. Radio cycling NPR drone about congressional gridlock and a Bears loss that no one cared about anymore. Lincoln's mind replayed loops, Alex's laugh echoing in the motel. The note's hurried scrawl. The river's chokehold. Stupid, reckless love had bloomed in the cracks of fear. A wildflower pushing through concrete, only to be trampled. But human spirit? That was the real plot twist. The thread weaving through America's messy tapestry, folks like Harper, fighting from newsrooms, the drag moms at the hideout who'd slip you a 20 and a wink when rent loomed, the quiet allies in straight bars who turned blind eyes to PD. The cabin hunkered off Highway 42 like a storybook witch's lair, log walls mossy with age. Porch sagging under Adirondack chairs facing Lake Michigan's moody expanse. Inside, plaid quilts, a wood stove crackling against autumn chill, shelves groaning with dog-eared Vonnegut and Atwood. Lincoln collapsed on the lumpy couch, exhaustion crashing like waves, but sleep dodged him, chased by Wattis. What if Marco's betrayal was deeper? Alex had vouched for him, shared smokes and shifts, even crashed on his couch after a bad breakup. Was it jealousy? Hale's coin-flipping loyalties? Days bled into a rhythm, mornings chopping wood with an axe that bit satisfyingly into oak. Afternoons poring over Harper's email dossiers, Hale's empire mapped in spreadsheets. Connections to City Hall like a spiderweb. Evenings. He developed film from the trip. Negatives curling in the makeshift darkroom, a blacked-out bathroom. Images emerging like ghosts, Alex's bruised profile in the warehouse glow. Their hands linked in diner shadow. A candid of Lincoln himself mid-laugh. Unguarded in a way that stole his breath. Art therapy? Harper called it in texts, Lincoln called it clinging. On day 4. A knock shattered the solitude, sharp, consistent, like fate with a warrant. Lincoln froze, axe mid-swing on the porch, sweat beading despite the crisp air scented with pine and brine. Grabbing the hatchet as improvised equalizer, he cracked the door, chain rattling. It was Riley, Harper's hacker whiz kid. All 22 years of floppy curls, wire-rim specs, and a messenger bag stuffed with gadgets that screamed NSA wet dream. Yo, Ansel Adams? Let a brother in before the feds drone strike this twig palace. Non-binary. NB as they insisted. Riley had a mouth like a Southside rapper and ethics forged in anonymous bashes. They'd met once at a queer media mixer, bonding over leaked cop cams of brutality at Boys Town festivals. Lincoln unchained, stepping aside as Riley breezed in, dumping gear on the kitchen table scarred by God knows what kinfolk rituals. Harper sent me. Hale's circling, planted stories calling you a disgruntled ex, peddling lies. But check this. Laptop flipped open, screens blooming with code waterfalls. Then, jackpot, fragments from the flash drive, mirrored on some dark web server before Marco's snash. Your boy was sloppy, but I backtraced his uploads. Ledgers. Emails. Hale's laundering through a front called Rainbow Equity Fund. Ironic? Empowering LGBTQ voices my ass. Lincoln leaned in, heart stuttering. Alex uploaded? Before the meet. Riley nodded, tapping keys. Time-stamped last week. Dude's got balls. But get this, Marco's in deep. Texts to Hale's burner, Ramirez talking. Handle? Then. Post grab, target acquired. Clean up yours. The screen glowed accusatory. Marco's betrayal pixelated in black and white. Rage boiled. Hot as fresh developer. But Riley's hand on his arm grounded him. Cool, said he. Breathe. Shutterbug. We're building the bomb. Harper's lining up printers for an expose drop. But we need Ramirez. Or proof he's alive? Proof. The word lodged like a thorn. Lincoln paced to the window. Lake choppy under scudding clouds. Gulls wheeling like vultures. He's out there. I feel it. Irrational as it was. The kind that built civil rights marches and marriage equality wins. The human heart. Stubborn organ. Beating against odds. That night, as stars pricked the velvet sky, Riley coaxed Lincoln into a bonfire, driftwood crackling, marshmallows skewered on coat hangers, Esmore's dripping gooey heresy. Story time, Riley decreed, passing a flask of Fireball whiskey that burned cinnamon trails down throat. They swapped tales, Riley's coming out in a Bible Belt trailer park. Fists from Dad met with middle finger and Greyhound ticket, Lincoln's Polaroid phase. Snapping clandestine kisses in high school bathrooms. Developing in secret till the chem lab raid. You're romantic? Link, Riley teased. Voice soft over flames pop. All that fear. And you dove in anyway. That's the gay superpower, loving fierce when the world's loaded for bear. Lincoln chuckled. Hollow but real. Warmth seeping past Jill. For the first time since the river, loneliness ebbed. Replaced by this makeshift tribe, Harper's network. Riley's quips. The echo of Alex's touch. Love wasn't solitary, it was the web. Fragile but vast. Week 2 brought heat, a tail spotted on the highway. Black sedan peeling off when Lincoln gunned the Chevy into a bait shop lot. Harper's calls grew clipped, Stay Frosty, Hale's lawyered up, and Riley's hacks unearthed gold, audio from a vault sting. Hale boasting to cronies about culling the herd in the scene. Voice silk over slaughter. But no Alex. Searches on encrypted channels. Tips from bar rags, nada. Lincoln's camera became confessor. Shots of the lake's rage mirroring his, waves crashing foam-white fury. Solitary trees bent but unbroken against gale. Then, blackout, power lines down in a freak squall. Cabin plunged to candlelight. Riley cursed. Laptop dying mid-decrypt. Leaving them huddled by stove. Shadows long as doubts. What if he's, Lincoln started. Voice cracking on the void. Riley squeezed his knee. Platonic anchor. Fighters like him? They ghost to regroup. Like you. Post-family fallout. You'll find him. Dawn brought clarity. A text from an unknown burner. Coordinates pinned to an abandoned mill in Gary, Indiana, the Rust Belt's graveyard. 30 miles south. Come alone. Truth waits. Lincoln's blood sang. Hope a drug sharper than fear. He left Riley barricaded with satellite phone. Driving south through industrial decay, steel skeletons looming like Hale's empire. Billboards peeling ads for casinos promising escape. Gary's streets whispered ghosts. Michael Jackson's birthplace now cracked dens. Factories silent sentinels to lost American dreams. The mill squatted on Lake Street. Chain link breached. Windows shattered, eyes staring vacant. Inside, cavernous. Echoes amplifying drips from ruptured roof. Machinery rusted to sculptures of obsolescence. Alex. Lincoln's call bounced. Swallowed by gloom. Footsteps, his, then a figure emerged from catwalk shadows. Not Alex, but Marco. Flanked by 2 thugs. Hale's signature Lugers glinting. Surprise. Shutterbug. Marco's nose was taped. Eyes swollen hate. Ramirez? Hale figured you'd bite. Lincoln's hand inched toward concealed knife, Harper's gift. Serrated edge 4 worst-case picnics, but numbers stacked against. They closed in. Blows raining, boot to gut, fist to temple, world spinning to nausea. Bound to a pipe. Zip ties biting wrists. He tasted copper as Marco knelt. Breath hot on face. Should have stayed in your lens. Pretty boy. Alex? Floating by now. Talk too much. Loved too hard, classic fag mistake. The slur landed like venom. But Lincoln's glare held fire. You're done. What? World's changing. No room for bootlickers in the light. Marco laughed. Drawing blade, cold steel tracing Lincoln's jaw. Nicking skin. Light? This city's shadows forever. He pressed. Blood welling. Doors splintered. Shouts erupting. Gunfire cracked. Sharp as lightning. Bodies dropping in sprays of red. Marco whirled. Knife flashing. But a shot took him center mass. Crumpling wet. In the fray's hush, Alex staggered forward. Smoking Glock trembling in grip. Face gaunt but alive. Eyes wild with feral relief. God. He cut the ties. Hands shaking. Pulling Lincoln into crush that bruised ribs but mended souls. Your safe house. Riley hacked the tail, Harper fed bad intel. Drew him here. Alex's voice broke. Forehead to Lincoln's. Thought I'd lost you. That note. Had to make him think I folded. Lips met in salt-sting kiss. Desperate reclamation amid carnage. Love's resurrection. Raw and real. But Hale loomed larger. Game far from over. As sirens wailed distant, they fled into Gary's labyrinth. Bound tighter than before. Humanity's thread their only map. The Gary mill faded in rear view like a bad acid flashback. Alex's borrowed pickup rattling over potholes toward the Indiana dunes, towering sandhills swallowing roads. Lake Michigan's arm a deceptive calm masking undercurrents that could drag you under in seconds. Lincoln's slumped shotgun. Ribs a symphony of throbs. Blood crusting his jaw where Marco's blade had kissed. Adrenaline's crash left him hollow. But Alex's hand on his thigh, thumb circling denim, anchored. A Morse code of, still here. You shot him, Lincoln murmured. Gaze fixed on passing billboards hawking outlet malls and Jesus saves, neon. The irony bitter as bile. Alex's jaw ticked. Knuckles white on wheel. Had to. Bastard sold us out for a pat on the head. Hale promised him legit management at the vault. Clean slate. But Marco? Always hungry for more. Fed scraps on the raids. Then me when I got nosy. His voice cracked on the edge. Accent slipping thicker, Puerto Rican lilt from Humboldt Park roots. The kind that charmed tips from drunk daddies but hid steel forged in street scraps. Lincoln turned. Studying the profile, hollowed cheeks from days on the lam. Stubble silvered with stress. But those dark eyes, pools of night sky over city lights, still held that pull. Magnetic north to his compass. How'd you know about the mill? Riley. Your hacker pal patched me in after the motel hit. Hale's crew trashed it. Found my stash of burners. Tracked the signal to Harper. Then you. Alex glanced over. Smile ghosting lips, tired. But true. Team effort? No lone wolves in this fairy tale. They ditched the truck in a dune-side lot. Trekking inland to a ranger cabin Harper had greased with a wildlife dock cover, isolated. off-grid, stocked with canned beans and a ham radio that crackled like arthritic joints. Inside, kerosene lamp casting golden halos. They stripped wounds, Alex dabbing peroxide on Lincoln's cut with hands gentler than their bar fight origins. Lincoln taping Alex's grazed bicep where a stray bullet had whispered too close. Silence stretched, heavy with unsaid, until Alex set the kid aside, fingers lingering on Lincoln's collarbone. I wrote that note thinkin' it'd buy time. Don't follow, bullshit. Every mile, I prayed you'd chase. His breath hitched. Vulnerability cracking facade. After you ghosted. Figured I was just another notch. But that night, you saw me. Not the bounce or the hustle, the kid who lost his mom to AIDS stigma, dad to denial, left drawing rainbows on sidewalks to remember. Lincoln's chest caved, memories surging, his own exile, Bible verses weaponized, camera his only confessor. I ran because love scares me shitless. It's the one shot you can't retake. But you're the exposure I can't underexpose. He pulled Alex close. Foreheads touching, breaths sinking like shutter clicks. The kiss ignited slow, exploratory, tongues mapping familiar territories with new reverence, hands unhurried as they shed clothes, bodies aligning on the wool blanket by the stove's glow. It was lovemaking, not fucking, Alex straddling, rocking deliberate, eyes locked in a gaze that stripped souls bare, Lincoln arching up, palms framing hips, whispering mine like incantation against the world's howl. Climax built title, crashing mutual in gasps and grips, aftershocks rippling as they tangled limbs, hearts hammering duet. In the hush, Alex traced Lincoln's sternum tattoo, a tiny camera lens inked post coming out. Symbol of seeing true. This game's deadly. But us? We're the plot twist nobody saw. Morning brought strategy, radio check-ins with Harper, Riley's voice fuzzing through static with updates, expose drafting, lambdas suing Hale's fronts, protests brewing at City Hall. But tension coiled, Hale wouldn't slink quiet. Whispers on queer forums, clubs shuttering inspections, raids ramping. A chilling memo leaked from CPD internals targeting agitators. The community frayed. Fears fault lines cracking bonds forged in Stonewall fire. Lincoln and Alex hiked dunes for signal. Crests offering cell bars and vistas of endless blue, Michigan's expanse mocking their trapped orbit. The wind whipped. Alex unburdened, the files full horror, not just ledgers, but dossiers on dozens, bar owners coerced, activists doxed, lovers pitted like pawns in Hale's chess. He plays on our fractures, Alex said. Sand gritting between toes. Makes us doubt each other. Marco? Grew up with me. Shared comings out over stolen 40s. Hale dangled belonging, real family, and he bit. Lincoln nodded. Arms slung Alex's shoulder. Solidarity in salt air. That's the con. America's promise, liberty for all. But footnotes for us. Raids in 69. Don't ask in 91. Pulse in 16. History's a loop till we break it. His lens captured it. Alex against dune curve. Profile etched defiant. Waves framing like applause. A shot for the ages. Back at cabin. Idle shattered, tires crunching gravel. Engines growling low. Hale's vanguard, 3 SUVs disgorging suits and muscle. Floodlights piercing dusk like interrogations. Out, Alex barked. Grabbing the radio. smashing window to hurl it into underbrush, deny the trace. They bolted rear, into thicket of sumac and oak, branches lashing like accusations. Gunshots cracked, warning pops splintering bark, propelling frenzy. Lincoln's lungs burned. Alex's hand vice in his, navigating by moon sliver toward the beach. Lake, swim for it, Alex panted. But Hale's men fan systematic, flashlights sweeping like scythes. Cornered at water's edge, waves lapping mocking, they spun, barrel temple. A goon snarling, end of the line. Lovers. But then, chaos redux, headlights blazing from dune track. Harper's Chevy roaring like avenging banshee. Riley shotgun with a shotgun, blasting salt rounds that scattered suits like roaches. Get in, Harper bellowed from wheel. Gray hair wild, face thunder. They piled. Truck fishtailing spray as bullets pinged fender. Riley hooped. Diversion, cops on payroll flipped by IA sting. Hale's house crumbling. The escape blurred to safe house redux, a nondescript Evanston bungalow. Lambda lawyers pacing with briefs. Activists brewing coffee strong as resolve. News ticker on muted TV. Corruption probe rocks Chicago elite. Harper's drop. Time to the mill bodies pinned on Hale's crew. But victory soured midnight, Alex's burner buzzed. Marco's ghost in voice message. Time-stamped pre-shootout, forgive me. Carnal. Hale owned me since juvie. But the drive? I mirrored it to you know where. Burn him for us. Tears stung, betrayal's half-life. Redemption's fragile graft. Lincoln held Alex through sobs. Rocking on lumpy futon. Humanity's mess distilled, forgiveness not absolution, but bridge over abyss. He chose right at end, Lincoln murmured. Like you chose me. Dawn gilded the lake view. Promise in pink haze. Hale indicted by noon, RICO charges sticking like tar. Empire unraveling in pleas and perp walks. The community exhaled, clubs reopened. Pride plans swelling defiant. But scars lingered, Alex's flinch at shadows. Lincoln's nightmares of rivers. Months on. In their shared Logan Square walk-up, exposed brick. Darkroom nook. Bed big enough for tangled mornings. Love rooted deep. Lincoln's exhibit. Shadows and frames, hung at the MC, Dune's shots. Warehouse candids. Alex's gaze immortalized. Opening night. Champagne flutes clinking amid murmurs of brave. Alex leaned in. Breath warm. We won the game. Lincoln smiled. Hand in hand. We rewrote the rules. In America's heartland sprawl. Amid rust and rainbow. Fear birthed love, not flawless, but fierce. Human as the horizon. Endless as the lake. Yet, in quiet hours, Lincoln wondered, was it happy ever after? Or just intermission? Hale's ghost lingered in headlines, appeals, whispers of deeper webs. But with Alex's head on his chest, heartbeat syncopated to his own, doubt dissolved. That deadly spark illuminated all. Epilogues aren't tidy in Chicago, city of broad shoulders and buried hatchets, where winters bury bodies and springs unearth them with equal indifference. 6 months post-indictment, Hale's trial dominated the Sun-Times like a bad sequel, star witnesses flipping, his silver tongue twisting into perjury snarls. The courtroom a circus of suits and sobs. Lincoln covered it freelance, lens capturing the human wreckage, a bar owner's trembling testimony on shakedowns, An activist's tear-streaked glare at the defense table, Hale's facade cracking to reveal the rot beneath. Alex testified too, voice steady as he detailed the files. The threats? Marco's fall etched in every pause. He preyed on us, Alex said, eyes locking Hale's across the oak divide, twisting our fight for visibility into his shadows. The jury, diverse slice of Midwest mosaic, including a non-binary barista who'd comped their lattes post-rate, didn't blink. Guilty on all counts: racketeering, extortion, conspiracy to commit murder. Sentence: life? No parole. The gavel's crack echoing like closure's thunderclap. But closure's a myth, Lincoln learned, as much as happy endings in straight rom-coms. The raid's ghosts haunted Boys Town blocks, PTSD in parade floats, trust eroded like lakefront bluffs. Community fundraisers bloomed, lambda galas, art auctions where Lincoln's prints fetched bids from celebs who'd ghosted during the storm. He and Alex poured proceeds into a youth center, darkroom equipped. Walls muraled with shattered compasses reclaimed as guides. Their life wove domestic poetry amid the grind, Alex bartending legit at a Lincoln Park lounge, sketching patrons' souls on napkins that sold as NFTs to tech bros slumming queer nights, Lincoln's portfolio swelling with commissions, pride docs for the reader, intimate shoots for couples vowing, in sickness, or worse, mornings, coffee black as intentions, shared over the Sun-Times funnies. Alex's foot hooked round Lincoln's ankle under the Formica table scavenged from an alley. Nights, slow dances in the kitchen to Coltrane vinyls. Bodies swaying to A Love Supreme, hands wandering to bedrooms where vulnerability reigned. Yet conflict simmered. Betrayal's aftertaste. Marco's redemption file, dug from his phone postmortem, revealed layers. Hale's hold since teen tagalongs in Pilsen gangs. Promises of family masking indenture. Alex mourned in fits. Punching bags at the gym till knuckles split. Lincoln icing them silent. Words inadequate as exposures. He was my brother, Alex confessed one storm-lashed eve. Thunder rumbling like unresolved grief. Chose wrong. But damn if it don't carve hollow. Lincoln pulled him close. Rain pattering window like Morse for, I know. His own hollows yawned wider, family estrangement a phantom limb. Dad's stroke reported via estranged aunt's card. He's asking for the prodigal. Come home. He burned it. Ashes swirling sink drain. But the pull tugged, human frailty. The ache for roots twisted but real. Thanksgiving tested, Harper's spread in her Wrigleyville brownstone. Table groaning turkey and tofurkey. Invitees a rogues gallery, Riley, now Annie Hack, to foster kids. Lambda suits. A post-prison ex-con turned chef slinging sides with stories sharper than gravy. Alex fit seamless. Charming Harper with tales of Poppy's era's congandals. But Lincoln tensed. Fork scraping plate at mentions of family traditions. Post-feast. Porch swing creaking under wool throws. Harper cornered him. Bourbon neat in hand. Spit it? You're wound tighter than a Leica shutter. Her eyes, sharp as ever, peeled his onion. He exhaled fog into November bite. The folks. That card. Part of me wants. Not forgiveness. Just witness. To show him this isn't the sin they preached. She nodded, puffing a menthol. Humanity's the long con. Go if it heals. Well, if it reopens. But don't let ghosts dictate your frame. Wisdom distilled. Straight no chaser. Christmas Eve. They drove south, interstate black ribbon under snow globe stars. Alex shotgun with a thermos of spiked cocoa. Radio crooning Dean Martin croons that mocked the miles. Lincoln's childhood home squatted in Springfield suburbia, split-level rancher with icicle lights twinkling judgment. Driveway shoveled pristine. Mom answered the door. Apron dusted flour. Face crumpling at the sight, Lincoln taller, broader, but eyes unchanged, Alex beside. Hand brushing Lincoln's in quiet claim. Lincoln, her hug crushed, vanilla and regret. Dad wheeled in from den, strokes toll in limp and slur, but gaze piercing. Son, the word hung, fraught as indictments. Dinner, awkward ballet, turkey dry as apologies. Alex's grace filling silences with neutral nods. Dad cleared throat post pie. Voice gravel. Heard about your pictures. The trial. Made the news. Fork tinkling plate. Proud. Of the fightin', Lincoln's throat bobbed. Alex's knee steadying under table. It's me and Alex. The fight's for that. Eyes met, blue on green. Decades in the bridge. I was wrong. Bible's got love. Forgiven kind. Not absolution, but overture. Mom wept soft. Hand over Alex's. Stay the night. They did. Guest room quilt starched. Whispers in dark, Alex's, brave, murmured against neck. Lincoln's home, a revelation, not the house, but the heart's return. New year dawned renewal, resolutions scrawled on fridge, Alex, draw more dreams, Lincoln, capture more light. Spring brought green shoots, community garden plots in vacant lots. Pride floats sketched in Alex's studio. But humanity's arc bends slow, Hale's appeal dragged. Shadows of copycats in raids elsewhere, Miami, Atlanta, reminders the game's variance. Summer solstice. They escaped to Door County cabin, full circle. Dunes blooming lupin purple. Bonfire crackled. Riley crashing with guitar. Strumming folk anthems that chased chill. Marshmallows charred. Stories looped, Marco's laugh in memory. Not malice, Hale's cell as karmic cage. As stars wheeled, Lincoln pulled Alex to blanket spread. Bodies entwining under meteor streak. Love-making lake-lapped, urgent. Then languid. Releases sinking with wave sighs. Curled spoons, Alex whispered. Somewhere between fear. We found this. Lincoln kissed nape. Voice rumble. And love? It began the game. But we'll finish it our way. Dawn gilded them gold. Horizon promise, not by kitsch. But how, happy not in perfection, but persistence. In America's weave, flawed. Fierce, they'd threaded gold. The end? Just the next frame.